Imagine stepping into a realm untouched by decay or darkness, a paradise where every need is satisfied, every longing fulfilled. This is no ordinary garden, it is the Garden of Eden, the crowning jewel of God's creation, a sanctuary overflowing with life, beauty, and divine perfection. But amid this sanctuary, one tree stands apart, a tree cloaked in mystery and consequence, the tree of the knowledge of good and evil. Why, in a place meant for harmony, would God place something forbidden, knowing that it would change the course of human history forever? To understand this, we must journey back to the very foundations of creation. God spoke the universe into existence, meticulously crafting the heavens and earth. Within this vastness, He prepared Eden, a place of wonder, designed as a perfect home for His first creations, Adam and Eve. This garden held everything they needed, a boundless abundance of food, companionship, and communion with God Himself. Among all the trees stood two that held particular significance: the tree of life, symbolizing eternal communion with God, and the tree of the knowledge of good and evil, representing a choice, a test. This test was deceptively simple yet profound. God commanded that Adam and Eve could freely eat from any tree, but were to avoid the tree of the knowledge of good and evil. This command wasn't about denying them something arbitrary, it was about setting a boundary for their own good. But as the story unfolds, Adam and Eve's curiosity and desire overpower their obedience. They eat the forbidden fruit, a single act that unleashes sin and suffering into the world, casting them out of Eden and into a world of toil, pain, and separation from God. This raises a perplexing question: why did God create this tree in the first place? The answer is deeply woven into the fabric of free will, choice, and the boundless mystery of God's plan for humanity. At the heart of Eden lies the concept of free will, an extraordinary and complex gift that God bestowed upon humankind. Free will grants the ability to choose, to decide between trust and rebellion, between divine wisdom and personal desire. Without this freedom, love and obedience would lack meaning, they would be empty, robotic actions. God's choice to include the tree of knowledge was a testament to this profound gift, a symbol of the freedom that defined Adam and Eve as truly human. However, free will is a double-edged sword. It creates a space for genuine love and trust, but it also opens the door to disobedience, sin, and the rejection of divine wisdom. By placing the tree of knowledge in the garden, God wasn't simply testing Adam and Eve, He was inviting them to make a meaningful choice. This was not just a question of obeying a command, but a deeper choice about where they would place their trust, whether they would lean on God's understanding or pursue their own desires. Imagine a world without choice, a world where humanity is bound by divine strings, mere puppets, devoid of individuality or purpose. Such a world would be devoid of authentic relationship, love, or trust. God's creation of the tree of knowledge, therefore, was a way to honor the freedom He had gifted to humanity. Without it, any relationship with God would lack depth and authenticity. The tree of knowledge also embodied a test of obedience, a theme critical to understanding humanity's place in creation. God did not desire automatons who would blindly follow commands. Instead, He longed for a relationship with humans who would choose to trust and love Him freely. By commanding Adam and Eve to avoid the tree, God gave them a choice to obey or to follow their own path, to honor His wisdom or to rely solely on themselves. The presence of the tree served as a continual reminder of this choice. When they succumbed to the temptation, the outcome was devastating. Their disobedience introduced sin into a world that had been perfect, yet this act also set the stage for God's greater plan of redemption, a plan that would eventually restore what was lost. The tree of knowledge, therefore, is more than a test. It is a symbol of God's immense respect for the power of choice. This respect comes with profound implications. Obedience, in this context, was not a simple matter of following rules. It was about embracing the full gravity of their actions, understanding the life-altering consequences of turning away from God's will. When Adam and Eve chose to disobey, they opened a door that could not be closed, leading to a world changed by pain, mortality, and separation from the Creator. But even in their fall, God's mercy and plan for redemption began to unfold, a plan that would ultimately offer humanity a path back to Him through grace. When the serpent appeared in the Garden of Eden, it was not just an ordinary creature but the embodiment of Satan, who had once betrayed God out of pride and jealousy. After being cast out of heaven, Satan harbored a deep resentment, seeking to destroy everything sacred that God had created. This time he chose Adam and Eve as his target, for they were God's most beloved creation. Through the serpent, Satan sowed seeds of doubt and disturbed the peace of Eden as part of his scheme to disrupt the order God had established. Satan's goal was not only to ruin the relationship between God and humanity, but also to make this sacred paradise the first place where disobedience would occur, thus opening the path for sin to enter the world. In this encounter, the serpent continuously enticed Eve with seductive words, causing her to feel increasingly confused and troubled. She listened to the serpent, her mind filled with questions and curiosity. She wondered, why did God forbid them from eating from the tree of knowledge of good and evil? Was there something special that she was unaware of? Her desire for knowledge began to grow, along with a sense of doubt about the reason for the prohibition. The serpent whispered that eating the forbidden fruit would not bring death, as God had warned, but instead would reveal wonderful knowledge of power to know good and evil, just like God. These words drew Eve into a new line of thought, awakening in her a powerful desire to surpass her limits, to experience knowledge that she had once believed was beyond her reach. Eve's mind gradually descended into an intense inner conflict. One part of her wanted to obey God's command, to remain steadfast in her faith and obedience. But another part was captivated by the serpent's allure, yearning to experience what she had never known. The choice stood vividly before her: to hold firm in her trust in God, or to embrace this mysterious knowledge, regardless of the consequences. This was not only a decisive moment for Eve, but also the beginning of a disturbance in the peace and purity of Eden, foreshadowing the monumental consequences that lay ahead. In that sacred, almost surreal moment, Eve's fingers brushed against the smooth surface of the forbidden fruit. Her heart pounded with uncertainty, the serpent's insidious voice weaving doubts and desires into her mind. The fruit glistened, promising knowledge, promising power. The choice lay before her: to trust in the love and wisdom of her Creator, or to grasp at the unknown, to defy the command that had been so clearly given. It was a moment that would reverberate through eternity, shaping the course of human history. When Adam and Eve ate from the tree of good and evil, the immediate consequences were severe. They became aware of their nakedness, experienced shame, and were expelled from the Garden of Eden. Sin entered the world, bringing with it pain, suffering, and death. The fall of Adam and Eve is often seen as a tragedy, but it also marked a pivotal moment in the story of humanity. The long-term implications of the fall were even more profound. It affected not only Adam and Eve, but all of their descendants. Sin became a part of the human condition, and the world was no longer the perfect paradise God had originally created. After Adam and Eve ate the forbidden fruit, God appeared to confront them and explain the consequences of their actions. Rather than simply punishing them, he used this moment to teach them about the profound impact of disobedience. God told them that from this point on, their lives would no longer be peaceful and effortless. Eve would experience the pain of childbirth, a suffering she had never known. As for Adam, instead of living comfortably in the garden, he would now have to labor intensely to gather food. More importantly, God revealed that their choice had caused a separation from him. This was also the first time they had to face the concept of death, not only the physical end, but also the severing of their spiritual connection with God. Through this explanation, God clarified that sin brings lasting consequences that affect not only them but all future generations. However, this fall was not the end of the story. It set the stage for God's plan of redemption and salvation through Jesus Christ. The consequences of the fall were grave, but they also highlighted the need for a Savior and the depth of God's love for humanity. Picture the scene: Adam and Eve, once clothed in innocence, now aware of their nakedness, hiding from the presence of God, the weight of their disobedience pressing down on them. The realization that their choice had brought pain and suffering into the world was a profound part of the human experience, a reflection of our own struggles with choice and obedience. Imagine Adam and Eve now, shrouded in guilt and shame, their once pure and unblemished spirits now marred by disobedience. They hid among the trees, their hearts heavy with the realization of what they had done. The perfect communion they had enjoyed with God was broken, replaced by a chasm of sin and separation. Their eyes, once filled with the light of innocence, were now clouded with the burden of knowledge and the shadow of their rebellion. When Adam and Eve were cast out of the Garden of Eden, they entered an entirely different world, a world of pain, hunger, and hardship. No longer in a peaceful paradise where everything was readily available. They now had to face a life full of challenges and toil. What once had been provided effortlessly now required hard labor to attain. Nature, which had once been their harmonious companion, became a harsh trial, with barren lands, extreme weather, and lurking dangers. While in Eden, they had lived in perfect harmony with all things. But now they were forced to find ways to survive in a harsh world. This marked the beginning of human life, a life in which they had to seek sustenance and confront the losses brought about by their sin. The consequences of Adam and Eve's disobedience did not end with their expulsion from Eden. Their choice set off a ripple effect that would touch every corner of human existence. Pain, suffering, and death became the new reality for humanity. Relationships were strained, the ground was cursed, and labor became toil. The harmony that once existed in creation was disrupted, and chaos and strife entered the world. Consider the profound impact of this single act of disobedience. It altered the course of human history, introducing sin and suffering into what was once a perfect world. The repercussions of Adam and Eve's choice are felt to this day in every aspect of human life. Yet, amidst this darkness, there is a glimmer of hope, a promise of redemption that would come through Jesus Christ. The story of the fall is a reminder of the fragile nature of human obedience and the far-reaching consequences of our choices. It is a story that resonates deeply with our own experiences of temptation, failure, and the longing for redemption. Despite the fall, the creation of the tree of good and evil was part of a larger divine plan. God's intention was not to create a perfect world where humans had no choice but to obey Him. Instead, He created a world where humans could choose to love and trust Him freely. The presence of the tree of good and evil was essential to this plan, as it provided the opportunity for choice and growth. The fall of Adam and Eve set in motion a series of events that would ultimately lead to the coming of Jesus, who would provide a way for humanity to be reconciled with God. The tree of the knowledge of good and evil was not an error or a mere obstacle. It was an essential and deliberate part of God's intricate plan to reveal His boundless love, mercy, and wisdom. This tree, standing in the heart of Eden, was far more than a simple test. It was a pivotal element in God's profound tapestry of redemption. The fall of humanity was not an unexpected failure in God's design, but a critical step in the journey of humankind toward understanding, growth, and ultimate salvation. Through the fall, the necessity for a Savior became painfully clear, and God's plan for redeeming and restoring creation began to unfurl. Imagine the depth of wisdom behind this divine design. The tree of good and evil was a foundational piece in the grand narrative that would lead to the ultimate revelation of God's love and grace. Its existence set the stage for an unparalleled demonstration of divine mercy. Humanity's fall allowed for the most extraordinary response, a redemption plan that not only provided a path for forgiveness, but showcased the lengths to which God would go to restore a broken world. It is here that we witness the incomparable patience, compassion, and sacrifice that define God's relationship with humankind. Through the fall, humanity came to a profound awareness of the depths of God's mercy and the relentless love that would eventually lead to the promise of a Savior. This narrative was woven not merely to test human obedience, but to emphasize the importance and power of free will, and to reveal the serious consequences that accompany our choices. In choosing to eat the fruit, Adam and Eve did not merely disobey, they chose to step outside of God's protective wisdom, which led to suffering and separation. But their story, even in its tragedy, provides enduring lessons. It illustrates that true love and obedience are choices, and it highlights the enduring hope of redemption. This ancient story teaches us that our choices carry weight, that obedience is about much more than rule following. It is about embracing God's wisdom and trusting in His unfailing love. The story of Adam and Eve's fall also reveals the grim reality of sin and the essential need for redemption. Sin is not simply a set of wrong actions, but a condition of separation from God, a state that only divine intervention could heal. Through Jesus Christ, the need for redemption was met in full, offering humanity a path back to communion with God. Even in our modern lives, these ancient lessons resonate deeply. Each choice we make, each step we take toward or away from God's guidance, reflects the profound significance of free will and the responsibility that accompanies it. Just as Adam and Eve were faced with a choice, we too must navigate decisions that reveal where we place our trust and hope. This narrative encourages us to pursue a relationship with God rooted in love, trust, and genuine faith. It challenges us to strive for obedience that flows from understanding and respect, not compulsion. The fall of Adam and Eve reminds us that despite our flaws and failures, God's plan of redemption remains. Jesus Christ offers us hope, a way to reconnect with God and overcome the divide caused by sin. This story speaks to the timeless truths of choice, consequence, and the power of forgiveness, resonating across the ages and touching the core of human experience. Imagine the richness of these lessons and how they apply to our lives today. This story challenges us to recognize the gravity of our choices, the impact of obedience, and the everlasting hope offered through redemption. It is a story that transcends time, urging us to trust in the wisdom of the one who created us and to find peace in His redemptive love. Thank you for joining us on this enlightening journey through one of the most profound stories of all time. If this message resonated with you, don't forget to like this video, share it with others, and leave a comment with your thoughts. We'd love to hear from you. And if you're passionate about exploring more stories and insights, make sure to subscribe to our channel and hit the notification bell so you never miss an update. Together, let's continue discovering the timeless lessons that shape our understanding and deepen our faith.